Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it. Think about the last time you tried to explain yourself to someone. Maybe it was a partner who seemed distant. Maybe it was a friend who misunderstood you. Maybe it was your boss, or your family, or just someone whose opinion quietly mattered more than you wanted it to. And you talked, you explained, you gave context, and then more context, and then you justified the context. And at the end of all of it, they still didn't quite get it, or worse, they respected you a little less than before you started that moment. That specific feeling, I want to talk about that today, because here is what nobody tells you. And this is going to sting a little. The more desperate you are to be understood, the less seriously people take you. Not because you are wrong, not because you are not intelligent, but because something in the way you are communicating is signaling something you don't intend to signal. It is signaling anxiety. And anxiety in the social world reads as a lack of value. Think about it this way. You've seen it before. There is always that one person in a room, maybe at work, maybe in your social circle, who doesn't say much. But when they do speak, people lean in. Nobody's checking their phone. Nobody's half listening. There is just this weight to what they say. And you've probably wondered, consciously or not, what is it about them? Is it confidence, charisma, some personality they were born with? It is not. It is a rule, a simple, almost embarrassingly small rule that governs everything: how they speak, how they respond, how they carry themselves in difficult moments. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. Now, before we go further, if you are new here and you care about understanding people, relationships, and yourself on a deeper level, hit subscribe. I put everything I have into this channel, and I don't want you to miss what is coming next. Because today isn't about becoming someone you are not. It isn't about being colder or more mysterious or playing some kind of game. It is actually about becoming more honest, more deliberate, more real. There is a version of you that walks into rooms differently, that handles conflict without unraveling, that says one sentence and means it completely, and people feel that that version of you doesn't need more words. They need better ones. And that starts right now. There is a story from feudal Japan that I keep coming back to. There was a swordsman, considered the greatest in the entire country, and people would travel from distant provinces just to challenge him, to test themselves against his skill. But the strange thing about this man wasn't how he fought. It was how rarely he did. He would stand there completely still, hand resting near his sword, but never drawing it. And most challengers, just in that stillness, would back down, not because he threatened them, not because he said a word, but because his restraint communicated something that 1,000 aggressive movements never could. It said, "I don't need to prove anything to you." And I want you to feel that for a second, because most of us are doing the opposite every single day. We are constantly drawing the sword in arguments. We over-explain in relationships. We over-text in conversations. We over-justify. And every time we do it, we think we're strengthening our position. We think more words equal more clarity, more connection, more respect. But what we're actually doing is showing people exactly how unsettled we feel on the inside. There is a concept in Zen philosophy called Wu Wei. It roughly translates to effortless action, or more accurately, the power of not forcing. It is the idea that the most effective presence isn't the loudest one in the room. It is the most grounded one, the one that doesn't scramble to fill every silence, the one that doesn't need external validation to feel solid. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said something that sounds almost too simple until you really think about it. He said we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that is not a biological accident. It is an instruction. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like just saying less, being quiet. Is that really the insight? But that is not quite it, because this was never about volume. The monk doesn't stay silent because he has nothing to say. He stays selective because he understands something most people don't, that every unnecessary word you speak slightly dilutes the ones that actually matter. Think about the people in your life whose words genuinely land, the friend whose opinion you actually wait for, the person who, when they finally say something in a tense situation, somehow cuts right through it. They're not smarter than everyone else in the room necessarily. They're just more deliberate. They've learned, whether consciously or not, that restraint isn't weakness. Restraint is the whole game. And the ancient wisdom got there thousands of years before modern psychology did. But here is the fascinating part. Modern psychology caught up. And what it found will make this feel even more urgent. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Elliot Aronson ran a study that genuinely changed how researchers think about competence and likability. He wanted to understand what makes people seem more credible, more worthy of respect in the eyes of others. And what he found was counterintuitive enough that it still gets talked about in psychology departments today. He called it the Pratfall Effect. Here is the basic finding. When highly competent people made small mistakes or showed minor vulnerabilities, people actually liked and respected them more. And this is the part that matters for us today. When people who already seemed uncertain, already seemed like they were trying too hard to prove themselves, made those same mistakes or over-explained themselves, the opposite happened. Their perceived value dropped. Significantly, what that tells us is this: the problem was never the words themselves. The problem was what the words revealed about the person's internal state. Over-explaining doesn't just waste time, it broadcasts insecurity. And the people around you, consciously or not, receive that signal loud and clear. I remember reading about a separate line of research on something called verbal overshadowing. The original studies were about memory, but the principle maps perfectly onto communication. What researchers found is that when you over-verbalize something, when you try to describe it in too much detail, you actually interfere with how fully the other person experiences it. You think you are creating clarity, you are actually creating noise. The feeling gets buried underneath the explanation. Think about that in the context of a relationship argument. You feel hurt. And instead of saying simply and clearly, "That didn't feel good," you build a case. You give the timeline, the context, the history, the reasoning. And by the end of it, the other person isn't feeling your hurt anymore. They're responding to your argument. You've turned an emotional moment into a courtroom, and nobody wins in that courtroom. Now here is the piece from neuroscience that ties all of this together. Your brain, and the brains of everyone around you, is wired to assign value based on scarcity. This is not metaphorical. It is a measurable neurological response. Things that are rare feel more significant. Things that are abundant feel less so. And this applies directly to your words, your presence, your attention. When you give all of it away freely, constantly, without restraint, people's brains literally register it as lower value. Not because you are lower value, but because the packaging is telling a different story than the content. And here is what brings it all home. Researchers who study negotiation and leadership have found consistently that the person who speaks last and least in a high-stakes conversation is most often perceived as the most powerful person in the room, not the loudest, not the most prepared, the most restrained. That is not an accident. That is a pattern. And patterns can be learned, so let's bring it all together. The samurai who never drew his sword, the philosopher who said 2 ears, 1 mouth, the psychologist who proved that over-explaining erodes your perceived value, the neuroscientist who showed that scarcity creates weight. They're all pointing at the same thing. And here it is, the rule. Simple enough to remember, in the middle of a hard conversation, powerful enough to change the way people experience you permanently. Before you speak, ask yourself one question. Does this add value, or does it just add words? That is it. That is the whole rule. And I know your first reaction might be, that is too simple. But I want you to stay with it for a moment, because simple is not the same as easy. And this rule, as clean as it sounds, will expose something in you that is genuinely uncomfortable to sit with. Because here is what you'll discover the first time you try to apply it. You talk a lot more than you need to. not because you are unintelligent, not because you are a bad communicator, but because somewhere along the way, probably early in life, you learned that silence is dangerous, that if you stop filling the space, something bad happens. People lose interest, they misunderstand you, they leave, and so you talk, you explain, you perform, you cover every angle before anyone can question you. That is not a communication habit. That is a protection strategy. And it is exhausting. You think about the last difficult conversation you had, a disagreement with someone close to you, a moment where you felt unseen or unfairly judged. I'd be willing to bet that somewhere in that conversation, you said the right thing and then kept going. You landed the point and then you justified it. You made your case and then you made it again slightly differently, just to be sure. And in doing that, you didn't strengthen your position, you softened it. You signaled that you weren't quite sure it could hold its own weight. Here is the reframe that I want you to carry. This rule isn't about saying less for the sake of being mysterious. It isn't about withholding yourself or becoming emotionally unavailable. It is about something much more honest than that. It is about meaning every single thing you say. Because when you strip away the filler, the justifications, the preemptive defenses, what is left is you. Actually you. And that version of you speaking with intention and landing with precision is far more compelling than any carefully constructed paragraph you've ever delivered while anxious. The rule doesn't ask you to become someone else. It asks you to trust that who you already are, when expressed cleanly and deliberately, is more than enough. Now, let's talk about how to actually live it outright. So we've talked about why this matters. Now, let's get into the actual work, because insight without application is just entertainment. And I don't want you to walk away from this feeling inspired for 20 minutes and then back to your old patterns by the time you go to bed tonight. I want this to stick. So here are 4 specific things you can start doing, not someday, starting in your very next conversation. The first one is what I call the 3-second pause. Before you respond to anything that carries emotional weight, an accusation, a question that makes you feel defensive, a silence that makes you uncomfortable, you wait 3 full seconds before you open your mouth. 3 seconds sounds trivial. Try it in a real moment and it will feel like an eternity. But here is what is happening in those 3 seconds neurologically. You are shifting control from your reactive brain, the part that is wired to defend, to fix, to fill, to your deliberate brain, the part that actually knows what you want to say. And socially, what those 3 seconds signal to the other person is something that almost nothing else can manufacture. It signals that you are completely unbothered, that you don't scramble, that whatever they just said didn't destabilize you. And that quality, that unshakable calm, is one of the most quietly attractive things a human being can display. The second step is to cut what I call the justification tail. This is the habit of saying the right thing and then ruining it. You know exactly what I mean. I can't make it tonight is a complete sentence. It is clean. It holds its own weight. But what most people say is, I can't make it tonight because I have this thing and I've just been really overwhelmed lately. And I hope that is okay, and maybe we can reschedule. And in those extra 40 words, something shifts. The other person goes from accepting your answer to sensing your guilt. And guilt in communication always reads as an invitation to push harder. End your sentences where they should end, full stop. Move on. The third step is learning to upgrade your silences. Silence is not awkward. Your discomfort with silence is awkward, and there is a difference. Think about the most secure person you know personally. Notice how they don't rush to fill every quiet moment in a conversation. They let things land. They let the other person sit with what was just said, in romantic relationships especially. The person who can hold silence without flinching is the person who holds the frame of the entire dynamic. So here is a practical drill. In your next difficult conversation, whether that is with a partner, a colleague, a friend, when they finish speaking, do not respond immediately. Let there be 2-3 beats of genuine silence. You will feel the urge to jump in. Don't What happens in that space will tell you everything about where the real power in that conversation sits. And the fourth step is learning to replace paragraphs with a single precise sentence. This is the most advanced one and also the most transformative. Instead of explaining why you are hurt, you say that didn't feel good and you say nothing more. Instead of building a case for why you deserve something, you make one calm, specific, unapologetic statement about what you bring. Instead of over-pitching yourself in a job interview or a first date, you say one true thing with complete conviction and let it breathe. Precision is not coldness. Precision is respect for yourself and for the person you are talking to. It says, I know what I mean and I trust you to receive it. That is a level of communication that most people never reach. Not because they're incapable, but because they never gave themselves permission to stop over-explaining their own existence. You have that permission now. Before I leave you with this, I want to address the fear that is probably sitting quietly in the back of your mind. Won't people think I am cold, distant, uncaring? Here is the truth. The people who talk the most are often the most emotionally unavailable. They're using words to hide, to cover the gap between who they are and who they're afraid they're not. Real intimacy isn't built in the volume of what you say. It is built in the spaces between. The pause before you say something that matters. The silence that tells someone, I don't need to perform for you. I am just here. This rule doesn't make you less warm. It makes your warm. So here is the question I want you to carry out of this video and into your actual life. What is one thing you've been over explaining to a partner, to a colleague, to yourself, that you could simply stop, not fix, not reframe? Just stop. You don't need more words. You need better ones. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer in a relationship, in a room, in a moment that matters, is the courage to say nothing at all. That is the rule. Now go live it.